Welcome back to another episode of Choice Cuts. I am Ryan Turek, the managing editor of ShockTillYouDrop.com, and today we are talking about horror subgenres we want to see revived and embraced by filmmakers again. Since I started thinking about it, of course, we're starting to see some horror subgenres starting to be revived, namely the haunted house picture. We're seeing more filmmakers exploit that. But I want to hear from you guys. I mean, is there a particular subgenre that's not zombies, is not vampires, that you want to see resurrected?
Zombie vampires.
Perfect. It's the end of the episode.
That is about that.
Yeah.
Here's your check.
Yeah, no, actually, I would say, for me, it would be slashers. I mean, that's always sort of been my favorite, horror subgenre.
Yeah.
And, the 80s slasher movies, even the terrible ones, I kind of have a place in my heart for. And I think that for them to be able to go back to that in an unironic way, like a post-Scream, an ability to make them in the way that they made them in the early 80s, that would be something that I would really kind of embrace.
I agree 100%, actually. I think slashers done right provide a great sandbox to play with character. You have a bunch of people in one place, and if you write them well and bounce them off of one another properly, then you have something that can carry the movie beyond just the kills. I also personally like werewolves a lot, but there are so few movies that actually do them well.
Yeah.
You have a weird design or a bad design or someone that wants to over-explain the mythology.
It makes or breaks the movie.
Yeah,
like a teen wolf.
Yeah, exactly. Teen Wolf or whatever. And I mean, honestly, I don't know of any great ones, but I think the last great one was American Werewolf in London.
I like Ginger Snaps.
Oh, that was great,
Ginger
actually. And that actually explored the metaphor really well.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Underworld 3 was my favorite one.
Perfect.
Underworld 4
Cliff
was
sex.
Underworld 4 was the
Michael
best.
Sheen cliff sex.
It was so short. Oh, yeah, Cliff sex in 3. Yeah, epic. That was good.
I love a good cheesy monster movie with I want Swamp Things and Frankensteins and werewolves and things along those lines. I miss those.
I miss them too, but I mean, I think that Cabin in the Woods was kind of a defining factor for whether monster movies had any lifespan in the modern era, because a lot of people.
Cabin in the Woods for
I talked. I mean, as great as the film is, I talked to a lot of people, and they're like, I was with the film until the monsters. And sorry if there's a spoiler there, but you should have seen it by now. But yeah, they were up to it until the monsters came up, and it was too implausible. They were like, no, I can't believe that.
But there's so many in there.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Who knows if it's...
Isn't that the whole point of that movie, though, that it's supposed to be improbable?
Yes, and they're completely
That's sort of a really funny criticism of that movie. I mean, I'm less of a fan of it than other people.
Yeah.
But I find that to be one of the least problematic things about it. I mean, really, that it's I mean, you look at it and it's like they open the book and they're like, here's the full list of every monster that's ever been in a movie and a couple that you haven't seen, like a merman.
Yeah.
And actually, I think that's if you could find a few of those, whether they were bona fide monsters or spirits or something like that, that had not been sort of explored in a few years in a way, I mean, I don't think the sort of the J-horror stuff needs to be revisited necessarily.
No, it's so boring.
And even I think that, of all the things that are in that movie, I think weirdly the zombie hillbillies are kind of, it spends actually too much time with just that one idea when they should have been populating it with more ideas throughout the whole movie, only because you have, I think you have a really great landscape of different kinds of creatures that you could play off of, and I think that people with the right ideas and the right storytelling could bring a bunch of those things back to life.
I also think something that would help would be an absence of horribly shot revenge horror movies that are sort of just taking the fun out of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to see more of what I just call vehicular terror films, like
Maximum Overdrive.
Maximum Overdrive, or not that I'm saying that these unmanned vehicles need to race around and drive people over, but movies like The Hitcher, the original, not the remake, Brian Collins, and films like that. I mean, where it's kind of like there was a great movie with Jim,
The Wrath,
The Wraith,
or
whatever it was. Yeah. What was that Jim Caviezel movie where it was
not Frequency?
Where it was like him chasing down a guy who had killed his wife in a hit and run, muscle cars, high testosterone, and I just like that kind of stuff. I always wanted to see that. I wanted to see more haunted house pictures, but I think that we're going to start to see more of that with Crimson Peak, and Paranormal Activity movies are kind of our modern day haunted house flick. And I'd like to see someone do a really cool killer doll movie. Yeah. Like another doll movie.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't have to be somebody racing around and running around with a knife. In a muscle car, yes. But something like a haunted doll or something like that. Bring that back, because I talk to a lot of people and they're like, I really like dolls.
Yeah.
And I was like, dolls? Stuart Gordon's dolls? And they're like, yeah, that really terrified me. If somebody could capture
I thought you
that?
just meant dolls in general. Like,
No.
I love dolls.
No.
See, I would say if somebody could really crack and just wipe the slate clean with something like Hellraiser, I actually think that would be pretty amazing, because I do think there's such a powerful sort of metaphor to play with there. The idea of, a person who's making a choice to sort of explore this darker aspect of themselves and how they are drawn into a world that they don't have control over, things like that. I mean, because what we end up seeing with sort of possession movies, haunted house movies, is people sort of unwittingly becoming, a part of this greater thing. Yeah. Whereas I think that a character who has from the get-go a certain kind of curiosity, I think that it gives us a greater sense of agency, rather than just another victim of some crazy spirit that wants to beat people up for no good reason, or whatever.
That's a perfect note to end on, Todd.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right, that's it for this episode of Choice Cuts. Stay tuned next week for a new episode.
I just clapped.
I know you did. Yay!
Guys.
We all did good.